We're already to week 11, and yet we still have a lot of teams seeing some flux in the quarterback situations here. I mean, look, we're going to have to still break down all these matchups and figure out, what's going on.
Yeah, the only thing I really want to know, though, like really dying to know, who's the starting quarterback for the Jets this week?
Well, we'll cover all the teams and all the matchups for week 11. Remember, there are two teams that are off. It's the Colts and the Saints. They're going to be on bye. And there are also some quarterbacks you don't have to even think about. If you got them, you start them. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and Drake May. At tight end, it's Trey McBride, and yes, Brock Bowers. Before we break down those matchups, don't forget, hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. We greatly appreciate everyone who's already done so, but if you haven't, take a second, help us get to our goal. We're trying to get to 100K before the season ends. Well, Chris, let's start with the Jets and the Patriots taking on each other in Week 11, Thursday Night Football. I wish I could say that it would be a good one. This doesn't sound like it's going to be a good game. But hey, which Jets quarterback do you prefer?
Well, we all know it's going to be Justin Fields, and we all know you cannot start Justin Fields this week on the road against the Patriots. No, thank you. And unfortunately, Mason Taylor, the tight end, I don't think you can start him either.
Yeah, like Mason Taylor at this point, an obvious drop in redraft, maybe a buy low in dynasty, but we're going to have to wait for this team to just look very different next year. And yeah, Drake May, you got him, you just start him. Or what about Hunter Henry, the tight end?
I mean, barely even a streamer here. He's struggled versus man coverage, and Jets one of the heaviest man coverage teams. He could score, but if he doesn't, you're going to regret this.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you think Jets, bad, you're right. Bad defense, definitely. Hunter Henry just doesn't get enough consistent target share. It's like he'll score a touchdown or he'll get you some yardage. He doesn't ever do both, so he's just a risky streamer. We got the Commanders at the Dolphins on Sunday. And yes, Washington will be commanded by Marcus Mariota once again. And then Zach Ertz is their tight end. I mean, the Dolphins are still not a great team just because they beat the Bills randomly, but maybe this defense isn't as bad as the Washington defense.
I agree. The Dolphins defense has been, dare I say, not horrible lately. So I'm going to say Marcus Mariota super flex here because, like, he still finds a way to somehow get it done. Even last week, against the Lions with no Terry, he found a way to have a decent enough game. You can start him in super flex. And then I do actually really like Ertz this week. I'm going to say a strong streamer because Miami plays the sixth most too high, and his numbers are very strong versus too high. And Terry's out this week.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's going to change. To some extent, Mariota is limited by what he's got available to him. It's not like they have a great running game to support him, anything. He's only super flex, right? He'll get something done. And then Zach Ertz, a decent streamer, right? Dolphins bad against the tight end, as you mentioned, but just very limited upside. Now, I did mention Tua, not saying he's like my very favorite of all the quarterbacks that could be on the waiver wire video, but I think he's a decent streamer here. I mean, come on, Washington's defense has been so bad against quarterbacks for the past month now, and I don't see it changing.
It has been bad, and I know, but man, I just worry here. Like, I worry that Achane gets 2 touchdowns and Tua only throws for 1 touchdown, and it's another not great game. I'm just gonna say super flex.
I'll say streamer for this week, and part of that is, as you'll find out when we go to the rest of the matchups, there's not a lot of other streaming type quarterbacks that I really love. I mean, he just got the best matchup. We got plenty more matchups to break down. First, I need to remind you that in addition to getting your fantasy lineup set, put your picks in on Underdog. And if you haven't tried it yet, well, you get a new customer special. If you sign up using code ENDGAME for the first time on Underdog, you get this gimme. It's Drake May just getting a yard. That's for new customers. Also, as soon as you play $5, you get $100 in bonus funds added to your account on top of the deposit match. More bonus funds. Use code ENDGAME and try Underdog now. Now the Packers going to face the Giants in Week 11. Start with the Packers side here, right? Jordan Love continues to kind of get the job done. A lot of people curious, would Luke Musgrave fill the shoes partially of Tucker Kraft? Not so much.
No, not so much. Look, if you want to keep holding Luke Musgrave to see if it changes, okay, but I'm not starting him this week. And then, like, it's a good matchup against the Giants. They're allowing the 5th most points to QBs, the 6th highest pass rate over expectation. But what's the upside here? Like, he's going to be better than last week against the Eagles, but how much better? I'm just going to say a streamer.
This feels like it's going to be a really low-scoring game, right? I mean, the Packers have a great defense. They don't really need to do a whole lot on offense, and they really don't just put up big points. I feel like Jordan Love is barely a streamer. Now, as far as Musgrave, again, this was, not just, his first chance to replace Kraft, but that was a tough spot against an Eagles defense is really good. So I'll give him a chance if you need somebody. I think you could stream him.
Now, Wednesday morning, as this video was being edited, it was announced that no, it was not going to be Russell Wilson at quarterback. It was going to be Jameis Winston. Dart obviously still out in the concussion protocol, so we had to refilm this, or I had to quickly refilm this because we only talked about Russell Wilson. So let's dive into it. I've already consulted Pierre. We're both going to say super flex for Jameis Winston. I know he's got upside. We've seen him sling it before in other, offenses, but this is a tough matchup against the Packers. He's not really full of weapons, not a ton of weapons around him here, not a great offense. So super flex, but a good super flex for Jameis Winston this week. And then Theo Johnson, we're going to leave him in the streaming tier. Yeah, this probably does give him a little bit of a bump. Might push him up over some other streamers, but we can't go too high here. Still just a streamer. Do you want to get advice from Pierre and myself at the tip of your fingertips? Start sit, waiver wire, trades, and more? Well, you can do all of this and more on our new app, Draft Lane. We have the ability to view your roster, waivers, and more to give you the right feedback to make the perfect choice. Download Draft Lane from the App Store or Google Play, or use these handy QR codes. And first-time users can use code ENDGAME to get 10 free credits and get your questions answered today.
Well, the Texans are going to face the Titans again, this time in Tennessee. Well, CJ Stroud missed last week, could come back, or it could be Davis Mills again. And I wonder what that could mean for Dalton Schultz, who now has quietly started to come on a little bit lately.
Yeah, I'm going to say Dalton Schultz, no matter what, is solid here this week. His target share has been going up. The Titans are a very zone-heavy team. He's been much better against zone than man this year. I think last week he was like the tight end 2 in expected fantasy points. I think he's solid either way. And I'm going to say CJ Stroud, if he clears concussion protocol, I'm going to say he's worth a stream. Titans, 2nd highest pass rate over expectation allowed, and the Texans, the 9th highest pass rate over expectations on the year. Texans offense is looking a lot better. Titans defense not looking very good. If it's Davis Mills, just super flex.
Honestly, the more I see this Texans offense, I mean, first of all, they're trying to figure themselves out, right? It's like past midseason, we still have an identity crisis here, but I don't see a big difference between when Stroud and Mills was on the field here, result-wise. I think they're both just super flex options. And then Schultz, it's fine. Like, I think he's a good streamer, but he didn't have a big game against Tennessee last time. They just might not need to throw the ball as much here. So he's a decent streamer. And then this is probably the easiest decision of the week. If you have a Titans offensive option against the Texans defense, I think the answer is just no.
Yeah, answer is definitely no here. Of all the quarterbacks we might talk about, I think Cam Ward might be ranked number 32 out of 32.
Panthers get a rematch with the Falcons. Remember when these two teams met earlier in the season, it was a surprising blowout. Now talk about unimpressive quarterback play. We have Bryce Young taking on Michael Penix. Let's start with Young in Carolina.
So you know what I just said about Cam Ward being number 32 of 32? That's because I forgot about Bryce Young. Bryce Young will be 32 out of 32. No chance here.
Wow, even lower than Ward? That's surprising, but I don't disagree. I'm not playing Bryce Young. This team is just running the ball. There's just not enough here. Now, Penix was arguably worse last week because, I mean, sub 50% completion rate. Like, the only guy who can catch passes from him is Drake London. Now, this isn't a terrible matchup in terms of that Carolina defense, but still, this doesn't feel very encouraging if you're talking about Penix in fantasy.
No, you cannot feel good about Michael Penix Jr. in fantasy right now. Super flex only, and even then, you're like, this doesn't feel very good. And then I'll say Kyle Pitts. I'm just going to say a streamer this week. Panthers are extremely zone heavy, and he's better against man. And I do feel like the last 2 weeks, the Falcons have been very heavy passing in neutral situations over expectation, and it hasn't worked. I feel like they go back to what's working. That's running the ball with Bijan Robinson.
What's weird about the Falcons is they don't seem to figure out that when something's working, that you should just keep doing that. So I don't know. Like, I don't think they're going to get blown out by 30 points like they did the last time, but Penix couldn't even do anything against Carolina weeks ago. And he's barely super flex. And then Kyle Pitts, look, this should be a really good spot for him. I mean, if anything, I know I just dogged Penix, but the Panthers are still one of the worst against tight end, and they don't really spread the ball around here. I think Pitts should be in line here for a pretty solid game. And I do feel like maybe the Falcons, based on their schizophrenia this year, when they look really bad, then they come back and they look good sometimes next week. Maybe that's what happens here. Now another rematch. It's going to be the Bears at the Vikings. These teams showed down in week 1 of the season. So when that happened, Caleb Williams did not look very good. All right. Obviously, this offense has made some strides, but do you think it's enough that you want to start Caleb Williams? And then what about tight end Colson Loveland?
I'm going to say Caleb Williams is solid. I know you go back to week 1, it wasn't great, but the offense looks better. Caleb looks better. He's been mostly good this year. Plus, he runs. I'm going to say solid here. Maybe like lower end of solid, but still solid. And I think you can stream Loveland. Even with Kmet playing last week, he got more involved. I mean, there's nothing that jumps out to me here, but he's involved. If the Bears offense has been better, you can stream him.
Maybe I'm still a little too pessimistic on Caleb. But yeah, the last couple weeks he's been decent, but going against 2 really bad teams in Cincinnati and the Giants here. I mean, yeah, he's been running, so that is the one thing that does give him some upside, but you can't always count on him running for a touchdown. He's more of a scrambler, not someone who runs by design. So I don't know. He's probably going to get a lot of pressure. He doesn't deal well with pressure, so I think he's just a streaming option this week, but so is Loveland. He continued to at least be involved, even though Kmet did play last week. And as far as J.J. McCarthy, mixed results, right? He got some things done, right? He made some plays down the field, and he also made some really bad throws down the field. So decision making seems to be an issue here. Does he improve based on the fact that it's the Bears defense?
I sure hope so. I mean, decision making and accuracy seem to be an issue right now. It's the Bears defense, but it's still, I can only say super flex here for J.J. McCarthy. Too much risk and not enough upside in my opinion. And T.J. Hawkinson, I mean, this is touchdown or bust and probably going to result in another bust.
Yeah, I think Hawkinson, we can just sit here. Look, I think McCarthy's not that different from Caleb Williams, right? He'll make some good plays down the field. He'll make some bad plays down the field. He scrambles a little bit, has some rushing upside. And so while Caleb's at this point a little more polished, obviously because of experience, McCarthy has the better matchup against that Bears defense. So I think he's also a streaming option. Chargers against the Jaguars in week 11 here. Let's talk Justin Herbert. I mean, he didn't have big numbers last week, but he didn't really need to throw the ball very much. And Ronnie Gadsden, he did leave that game early, much to the chagrin of bettors. It sounds like it's just a bruise, like a knee bruise. So something to keep an eye on for sure. But if Gadsden does play, you firing him up?
I'm definitely firing him up if he plays. Jags third most points allowed to tight ends. And despite missing basically an entire half of football last week, he was still 7th in expected fantasy points among tight ends. If he plays, I'm playing him. And I think Justin Herbert's got to be a strong start this week. Didn't even matter that he didn't have Joe Alt last week. He runs. Jaguars are a pass funnel. Their second highest pass rate over expectation. And they've allowed the second most points to QBs. I love this spot for Herbert this week.
All right. Well, I agree on Gadsden. I mean, it doesn't sound like this should bother him too much. So if you got him, very solid start. This may not be a big game for Herbert. I think he's at the high end of the solid, tier here. But again, he's one of those players that you never have to worry about him being a complete dud. So if you got him, just don't think about it. Now, on the other hand, I could think twice about starting Trevor Lawrence. I mean, when is this guy going to have an actual big game fantasy-wise? I mean, maybe if he happens to run in for 2 touchdowns again, is that really going to happen?
That's it. Like, if he can sneak in a touchdown or 2, you feel like, okay, I'm okay starting him. But I said sit him last week. I don't regret it. I'm saying sit him again this week against this tough Chargers defense. I doubt I'll regret it.
I'm sneaking him into the super flex tier here just because, again, there's still some quarterbacks I got below him, and he does at least scramble a little bit. They're probably going to need to pass a fair amount here, but again, he's just a floor play these days. All right, but now we got the Bucs taking on the Bills. I mean, these guys are far more than floor plays. Josh Allen, of course, an auto start. What about Baker Mayfield back to his ways last week, slinging it? He might have to do it again this week. And then Cade Otton, and he is definitely reaping the benefits of Mike Evans not being there.
Yeah, I feel like Cade Otton is kind of being undervalued right now. I think Cade Otton's got to be solid. Bills play too high 55% of the time. These are the shells he has his highest targets per route run, yards per route run, and fantasy points per route run against. And he was the tight end 3 last week in expected fantasy points. He's solid. I'm just going to say Baker's solid this week. On paper, this is not a great spot. Bills 22nd fewest points to quarterbacks, the lowest pass rate over expectation allowed. They're better against the run, but I don't think Baker cares. He slings it, so he's still solid.
Baker does not care. Yeah. This is a game where he's very solid. Again, kind of like with Herbert, one of those players that matchup doesn't even matter all that much. As far as Cade Otton, you're right, he's being slept on. Ryan Heath, Fantasy Points, pointed out that in the games so far where both Evans and Godwin have missed, which is now looking like the majority of the season, Cade Otton has been the tight end 2 in terms of target share and the tight end 7 in terms of yardage. Look, Cade Otton now is developing into a solid option. Then for Buffalo, Dalton Kincaid could be solid if he could finish games. Another nagging injury here, so we're going to have to see if he plays. If he does, how do you feel?
Nah, it doesn't even matter if he plays. I already know how this goes. Doesn't practice Wednesday, doesn't practice Thursday, limited Friday, game time decision, and then barely even plays. Nah, not doing it.
Oh, trust me, I'm tempted. He has let me down many a time. If he does play, and again, look, if he's limited or questionable heading into the weekend, just forget it. But if he's a full go, then he's got to be at least a streaming option. And now we get a redux of the Bengals and the Steelers, aka the Icy Hot Bowl. That's right. We're gonna have Joe Flacco coming off the bye, got a week to rest his bones. He's gonna face off against Aaron Rodgers. All right, now seriously, the Flacco and the Bengals, when we last saw them, absolutely cooking. Will they do it again?
Why not? Why not? Against the Steelers? Look, the Steelers defense maybe not horrible anymore, but they didn't look significantly better against the Chargers on Sunday night. The last time these two teams played, he had 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then what you got to love here is the Bengals defense is so bad, they keep every offense in the game. Flacco is a strong start. Noah Fant, I'm going to say just a risky streamer here. Steelers 4th toughest versus tight ends. One of the most man-heaviest teams, and he has not been good against man this year.
Yeah, Fant, barely a streamer here, but again, it's tight end. You could do worse. I don't know. Look, Joe Flacco, if you got him, you've got to feel pretty good. My concern is possibly that the Steelers, the way that offense has looked lately, just actually don't do enough to keep up here. So I think Flacco, I'm going to put high-end solid. And so as I mentioned, Aaron Rodgers, his plays kind of going on a decline as the season goes on. But, is he at least flexible as a super flex?
Yeah, just because it's the Bengals, you can super flex him. Again, remember, Justin Fields had a nice game. The Jets won the game against the Bengals because it's the Bengals defense. He's super flex, but I can't go higher than that. I'll say Jonnu Smith. You can stream him. He did score the last time they played, but he kind of looks like he's behind Freiermuth now. And for that reason, I'm going to say Freiermuth is solid this week. 5 catches, 111 yards, and 2 touchdowns the last time they played. The Bengals are still horrible against tight ends.
Oh, yeah. Fire up tight ends against the Bengals. That's one of the rules you want to obey this season. So I already broke down Muth on the waiver wire video. Exactly. This is one of those guys that even if you have just a good but not great tight end, you might want to pick up Freiermuth and just stream him anyways. Right now we got 49ers against the Cardinals here. Trey McBride, no questions asked. You start him. We can't yet put George Kittle in that category, but he is definitely getting better. And then as far as quarterbacks, just going to assume it's probably Mac Jones again. Who knows if Brock Purdy's ever coming back.
Well, I think maybe we do see Brock Purdy this week. Remember, he was a QB2 last week. It's sounding like it's possible. I mean, it could be Mac Jones again. I'll say if it is, or whoever it is, honestly, I'm just going to say super flex. Cardinals, not necessarily a great spot. 6 fewest points allowed and the 8th lowest pass rate over expectation. But it's still a 49ers quarterback. You can super flex them. And okay, we saw George Kittle, the guy we wanted to see last week. Am I ready to be all the way bought in? I don't know, but I'm still going to say strong start.
Yeah, again, he just needed a couple of weeks to get back, and that target share is finally there. He hit the 23% mark, tied with Dwan Jennings. It might even increase more, but yeah, if you have Kittle, I think he's definitely a strong start now. Look, if Purdy plays, I'm not doing it, not risking it. Shanahan even said that toe probably won't get fully healthy all year. So I wouldn't do it. Mac Jones is just super flex as usual. And as far as Jacoby Brissett there, he finally took a big step back in a tough matchup. This is not a significantly better matchup. I mean, to me, he's still just a super flex guy too.
Well, I think this is a better matchup. The 49ers defense just absolutely decimated right now, but I can't feel great about Jacoby Brissett. I'm just going to say a high-end streamer this week.
The Seahawks at the Rams. Two good teams battling it out there, and two very similar quarterbacks. Pocket passers have been very efficient this year. I mean, this could be a battle between both Sam Darnold and Matt Stafford. Let's see who you like better. Let's start with Darnold.
Well, I'm going to say I don't like Darnold better here. I think you can stream him. He's a good streamer, but we've kind of seen, well, last week we definitely saw a big step back. I mean, the week before he was great, so... But the Rams have been good, like 9th toughest against QBs, 3rd lowest pass rate over expectation. Their defense has been playing great. I'm just going to say high-end streamer this week.
You know, Sam has been solid pretty much all year. I think he should at least be solid here too. I mean, there's part of me that wonders if this could be a sneaky low-scoring game because despite how efficient these offenses have been, the defenses are both really good too. You know, these are two teams that are familiar with each other, so... I think he's still better than most of those other streamers out there. I would feel better having Darnold in my lineup. So what about Stafford then?
I was going to say solid this week. This is a tough matchup. I mean, he has been so good lately. He's at home. I would have a hard time not starting Matthew Stafford, even in this tough matchup.
Yeah, I mean, to me, all the same things I just said about Darnold still apply here to Stafford. He will be good. I don't feel like it's going to be a great game. Don't know if this will be a high-scoring game, but, you know, at least he probably won't kill you. Our Chiefs are going to go to Mile High, take on the Broncos this week. Wonder if these two defenses will kill the value of these quarterbacks. Now, Pat Mahomes, we had as a must-start for several weeks, but now you just can't ignore this matchup.
Right. I mean, look, Pastor Tam being out helps, but this is still a very tough matchup. But that being said, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's got so many weapons. I'm still going to say a strong start. And then I'm going to say Travis Kelce. Just a high-end streamer this week. Broncos just kind of middle of the pack against tight ends, but they do play the fourth most man. He's been much better against zone than man, but he still has upside, so a high-end streamer.
I'll say Mahomes could be solid, but I just don't feel a big game here. I mean, obviously, logic tells you this is a really tough spot. And last year, he actually only played in one of the games against Denver because the last one, it was in Week 18. Only 266 and 1 touchdown. Again, if he doesn't do a whole lot with his legs, then this could just be an okay game for him. And for that reason, I think Kelce is a streamer, but not more than that. All right, now we were worried about Bo Nix already anyways coming into this week. And now he gets to face that Chiefs defense. I mean, I know he's better at home, but still, you just can't feel good about this guy.
He wasn't better at home last week. Yeah, you cannot feel good here. This is super flex only. And then Evan Ingram, I mean... no chance. You cannot risk getting a 0 from Evan Ingram.
Again, Knicks only super flex because you could do worse technically. Evan Ingram, yeah, there's just not enough here. You can't play him. All right, let's talk Ravens at Browns here. Just don't ask. We got Lamar Jackson. Start him, please. All right, it's not that easy with the tight ends here. Mark Andrews has done a little something, mostly just finding the end zone once in a while. And I honestly wonder why people keep asking about Isaiah Likely. I mean, how long before we realize he's just not going to be a thing this season?
Yeah, Isaiah Likely's an easy sit here. I'll say Mark Andrews is a stream. The Browns have been tough against tight ends, but they also play the third most man. He's been better against man. He could always score, so like a touchdown-dependent streamer.
That's it. A touchdown or bust kind of player. I mean, Mark Andrews is feeling very Theo Johnson-like these days. I don't feel a great game against the Browns, so just a streamer. And I feel at this point with the Cleveland quarterback tight end situation, I kind of just copy paste every week. Dylan Gabriel is just a super flex option, right? I don't know about the tight ends. You feel anything different based on matchup this week?
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel, just a super flex option here.Maybe he comes through again this week because he's got to throw a lot against the Ravens, but I don't want to find out in a 1 QB league. I do, again, like Fannin this week. I know it was very annoying that David Njoku got that short touchdown, but that's like all he did. Fannin still gets the targets. It's another defense that plays a lot of man. Fannin has been better against man. I think he's too good to ignore here. I'm going to say like low end solid, and then Njoku, a risky streamer. He could score, but that's about it.
Yeah, I think I just have to keep them both as streamers. As long as they're both out there, they just kind of cannibalize each other's opportunities. Fannin does seem to be Gabriel's favorite target. He had 7 compared to Njoku's 2, and just on the season, Gabriel likes Fannin, right? But again, there's no big ceiling here for either one, and when one of them catches a touchdown, the other does, and vice versa. So they're just streamers. All right, now Lions at Eagles. Yes, Jalen Hurts is still a must start. Now, as far as the Lions go, Jared Goff coming off a nice game. Sam Laporta has just been pretty rock solid now for weeks. So, does that change though? This is a road game against that Philly defense.
Yeah, I think it might change here. I'm going to drop Jared Goff to a high-end streamer. I mean, on the road in Philly, you can't feel great. And I'm going to say Sam Laporta, he's solid because he is still involved, but this is a tough spot for tight ends.
It is a tough spot for tight end, and we've seen that over and over. And this defense just gets better as they reinforce, get players more healthy, made some moves at the trade deadline. You can't ignore this. I will say Goff is at least streamable. I'm not going to drop him too low, but I don't expect a great game. And then same thing, Laporta at least is involved enough. Solid. Now what about Dallas Goedert here? Feel like he's still kind of living in that solid tier.
Yeah, he gets targets. He could score. He didn't score last week, but he could score. Lions allowing the 8th most points to tight ends. He's very good against man coverage. We talked about it. Lions, very heavy man team. I think he's solid.
He's a tight end. He's going to be volatile. You want him to score, and you don't know if he's going to score, but he's still getting a decent target share, so solid it. Now, Week 11 will end with the Cowboys taking on the Raiders in Vegas. So, I know people will ask, Brock Bowers, I mean, really, are you sitting him for any other tight end who isn't Trey McBride? If you got him, you can still just put him in your lineup. All right, but let's talk Dallas first. Okay, so Dak Prescott, Jake Ferguson, that combo has been pretty good this year, but the last couple weeks, it slipped a little bit.
But I expect to bounce back this week. Coming out of the bye against this Raiders defense, 10th most points allowed to QBs, 7th highest pass rate over expectation. Again, ignore what Bo Nix did or did not do last week. I'm going to say Dak Prescott, very solid start this week. And Jake Ferguson, yeah, sure, he's been a little bit, taking a little bit of a hit with CD back, but the Raiders play the most zone of any defense, and he's been much better versus zone. I'm going to say he's also solid.
Yeah, so the Cowboys, going into the bye, we didn't see that offense playing at high level. I feel like this would be the bounce back week for them. Come on, the Raiders aren't really slowing too many teams down. So, yeah, solid. Geno Smith, okay, not so solid. He hasn't been as bad as he was early in the season, but this still is not great.
No, this is not great. Remember I said Cam Ward, 32 out of 32. Then I said Bryce Young, 32 out of 32. Okay, I'm not putting Geno Smith that low, but he might be number 30 out of 32.
Well, again, I know I kind of said this with Ashton Genty and all the Raiders. The Cowboys defense, sure, it should be better. It's still not great. They're probably going to have to pass the ball a lot to keep up with the Cowboys. So just through sheer volume, at least projected volume, super flex. All right, that's everything you need to know about quarterbacks and tight ends for Week 11. Keep it locked here, where we have content for you every single day to help you win. Check out this week's playlist.